Good morning. How is everyone? Gotta get some water poured here. All right. Where do we leave off? Got a couple of issues. We were in wall log new, particularly. Trying to get the base path set up. So in this case, we believe we have the relative DB path and the file name. I would like to turn this into a function. Extract into function. Let's call this wall log 2 DB path. Something like that. Actually, I wanted this piece as well. Let's undo. Yep, these two things. That's better. That's nice. That's cool. All right. Pass log to DB path. Now we need two paths. Let base path equals path buff. We have multiple versions of this. One here, one with a salted wall log, something like that. What are we expecting back? A result? You Okay, now for the hard part. Trying to do something twice happens to be a mutable borrow. This is a little bit more complicated than that. Essentially, I just want to make sure that if, while we are trying to get the wall log, it's being renamed, we account for that. So if it doesn't exist the first time, check again. That's it. Just do it twice. And in these cases, we return something that's borrowed. Oops. Where were we? Wall log here. Haven't done that before. Okay. If it contains the key, return a mutable reference to it. Fine. Check to see if we have a record of the previous salt. If so, reuse it. There was not a pre-existing path index, and check again. Index all the files again. We have a path. Create the new wall log and save it. And in this case, we return this element. Might be able to push this concern here, or it cannot see this, but Now can it? I can't. Wow. Huh. Zenocron, happy Friday. How are you? Try adding an expression at the end of the block. Okay. See, I just want this to know that there are two attempts and that we are returning in each of those two attempts. So in this case, if we find it right away, we return. If we do not find it on the first attempt, attempt 0, just keep going. And otherwise, if we find it on any attempt after the basically the rescan, reindexing, we return OK. And if on anything but the first attempt, yeah, I think this is unreachable. Again, because it's being renamed. There, done. And then anywhere we check for this, no longer have to attempt twice to do it. Like this. We just have to know that if there is a none, we bail. Okay. So we find the wall log, and then we send the transaction. Oh, you're enjoying a good old fight against UE5's GC. How's it going? Ooh, UE5's GC. That sounds interesting. That's Unreal Editor 5. It has a GC? Or am I thinking of something else? Garbage collected. Wait. What? Garbage collected C++. Yeah, I get like. Um, reference counted pointers, all that, but are we just talking about reference counted pointers or something else? Oh, that's right. We didn't finish this. I want to test this other thing first. Okay, we'll get back to send transaction. In wall, I want to run this test. That, and I want like a negative case as well. Let's create a negative case. Why? Putting it in the wrong buffer. Okay. Although it is actually GC. Only tracks the child classes of UObject. Fascinating. Huh. I had no idea they did that. I wonder why. You're getting some live objects being GC'd. Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh, is it a fun project at least? It happens more often than you'd think. Oh, it's work. That's good. Okay, in this case, since this Baz, what do we actually expect in this case? Wall launch DB path. I think it's going to bail here. It's just not going to be in the right directory. Expect error. What kind of error do we expect this to be? Let's just call it error. Expect equals error. I want it to be this. I think I want to use like a matches. Do I have to pull in the other one or can I use, wait, they have an assert matches. Nightly only. Wah, wah. Hmm. It's a little grindy. I don't know. It's a little much. Cert matches. Then we have the two variants in here. We say source we ignore. And the base path is path buff of. We just ignore that for a moment. Let's see what happens. My check is taking so long. Looking forward to the weekend. Start to get the yard cleaned up. And I got some projects I want to get to. Here we go. 577. Yes, that's correct. Happy.db3 is the relative path. My test is wrong. This should be just happy. Okay. Again. Are the backyard kind of projects? Yeah. I want to build a greenhouse this year. Um, Garden needs to get set up. We might end up getting some sheep. Um, man, I could like to have some other animals as well. Yeah, but where we are, we're in the Pacific Northwest, and we don't get great sun for kind of a greenhouse over the winter. So I'm thinking of doing like a thermal battery. But that means for the footprint of the greenhouse, I have to dig down 4 feet and put tubing and piping, some gravel down below the thing, and then cover that back up, and then build a greenhouse on top of that. Everything passed. Lovely. Do I really care what the base path is? Kind of. I can't do it that way. Base path is equal to path buff from stir. Ooh. as this work. Such field expected, comma. Yeah. What happened with the goats? We actually gave them away. Um, so my older kids were more into the goats. Um, the younger kids have been taking care of the what I like to call the foul beasts. Um, so, and then after the grizzly bear ate our good milkers, the goat milkers, milking goats, it kind of popped the goat bubble. We didn't actually get any replacement milkers. Um, yeah, we kept them around for a couple years after that, just kind of a wandering herd, kept feeding them all that. But at that point, we were pretty much done with the goats because the grizzly ate the good milkers. Oh, I wonder if I have a picture. Hold on a second, let me see. It might be on some flash drive, like a trail cam. Da, da, da. What is this? Oh, that's not it. I'm not seeing it. But basically, I have a picture of a grizzly bear in black and white playing with goat bits. Probably not the best for sharing on stream now that I think about it. um, yeah. Yeah, no- well, yeah, I hadn't, I don't know, I just don't share it all that much. Um, but I didn't stream for a while as well. I think it was in that time. But yeah, I was a tagged grizzly bear, something known as like a nuisance bear. Had a tag in its ear. It's pretty crazy. I almost walked up upon it one night. Well, the dog and I went out to go check on a noise. And you don't walk outdoors here for a noise without having some form of deterrent with you. So, dog was with me. The grizzly, I think, just didn't like dogs, and it bolted before we got to where it was munching on goat bits. And then I saw everything, decided to clean up in the morning. Came back in the morning, everything was gone. We had disturbed it while it was having a feast. Well, yeah. So, goat's gone. We gave the last of the herd to a friend about a mile north of us. Good guy. He has a couple goats. He's looking to supplement his herd. It's all good. Let's go back to DB changes. So now a wall log has information. Well, I think it was about time for the goats. The older kids that were kind of into taking care of them and milking them and all that, they're off at school. So they kind of fell back on the rest of us. And without the lovely side effects, the milk, the cheeses. Oh, halloumi. I miss halloumi. A nice, freshly made halloumi, grilled with paprika on it, smoked paprika. Mmm, delicious. So what are we trying to do here? Send the transactions. We're getting this. That's right. We're trying to send multiple pieces. But we have to get the DB bits updated, right? So we're trying to get a database transaction from a wall log frame read, essentially. Part of that, the wall frame, has the iChange data on it now, but it doesn't have the before and after of the checksum info. Let me know when you're back, and I'll touch on your comment of that. What's bugging me about this is having to look up over and over again the path in the database. I just want to hold on to this. Like what I want, what I really, really want is for this to produce something that borrows from these and this to produce wall frames quickly and efficiently. Like something that will basically let me read through the transaction. Like, well, the wall log should give me a transaction reader in which I can borrow from these for a short period of time. Yes. Do we have our wall log? Where else is this read frame being used? So I'm concerned that, yes, we use it in Seek. There's two different concerns. One is kind of reading ahead. The other one is reading a transaction and actually using the frames that are produced. Send transactions, we actually want that transaction. In the other case, this here, we just want to advance and update some internal bits here. Yeah, we want the validation. Do we care about the wall frame itself? Probably not. Like, do we have to read the data? No. I don't need the page. Not for this one. I don't actually expect this to be used all that much. Because I think of the natural progression of this, these would only be used in very rare cases where a wall log was rotated and data needed to be found in the rotated wall log, the salted wall. Right. log. Let's have it return something else. I want a transaction reader that might use read frame. Borrows from this for a short period of time. Okay, so a transaction, here are the things that we're sending out. They need to have pages, database pages have these things here. And checksum, start checksum, the actual bytes, checksum of the bytes. This is the database checksums, before and after. And the page number. Right. Basically, we want to produce a number of these. We also need to have transaction ID. So transaction ID, many of those, and possibly a commit record. Now, the piece I keep coming back to in my mind is generating the checksums, because I don't want to hit the database lookup and the hashing for every single one. It's definitely a premature optimization here. So we either have a function that can generate a transaction, transaction chunk. Right? Maybe this would return a database transaction. And in this case, it would have, the IDs, pages, etc. We would be able to inspect this to see if the commit record has been sent. That means that we would only need to do the DB lookup for the pages that we're actually sending. So it'd be once every 10 pages. Okay. I think we would still need to ensure that transaction IDs were correct? Question mark? Maybe not. Do I want to scan the entire transaction before sending it? I don't think I do. Basically, do I want to scan forward and see if it has a commit record? I don't think so. We're going to do this in an optimistic way. Basically, we start to send the data everywhere, and they can write all of this information, but if there is no commit record, SQLite won't read it, which is fine. Okay. In which case, we just need this transaction. So we will ask the wall log for transaction. Something like so. Then we just get rid of all of this. Except for the piece where we send. Why is this even in here? We're missing some association between the actual transaction that we're sending. Kind of not. Okay. We need some sort of identifier. Like a what's that? No, I didn't want to do that. Find wall log. No, that stays. Um, skipped a function. I wanted this. Basically, we want to be able to provide the transaction that we're expecting. Like if it's a, oh yeah, no, we just keep calling this until we get a. Log. But we should wait. Okay. This also needs an optional transaction ID. Would it be result to an option? Let's say that the transaction ID didn't match. Maybe that's an error. Build a transaction. Checking the optional transaction ID. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, I call this a transaction. This database transaction, it's really a part of a transaction. Let's change that. Let's change this to like a transaction chunk or something. Transaction part. Transaction segment. I don't know. What would be a good name for that? Let's just rename it from database transaction to transaction chunk. Sure. Change that later. Transaction. Oh, chunks of a transaction. We go build data proto HP. This goes away. I don't know if I want to do this here or where this is actually called. Because now there's going to be so little that's happening. I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. So look at a transaction. So the first one, let's say we want these flipped. There. So now let's have 10 pages and none. So no transaction ID. Get one of those. should not be called that. Did I change the wrong one? Data stream. Oh, that's the right one. Transaction chunk. Okay, it is incorrect. Fascinating. Why can't I find it? Transaction. There. Really doesn't see it, does it? Okay, that's fine. Let's maybe clean up the generated code. Generated. All that goes away. Yeah, sure. All seven. Build it again. No such file or directory. Interesting. Isn't the includes auto-generated? Might have a bootstrapping issue. Why isn't the build script running? Because this should be compiled after the generation happens. Is it putting the code somewhere else? It looks like it's actually doing something here. It's looking at the data proto of the build, right? Uh, Interesting. Okay, fine. I'll accept that. I was using a deprecated function. It should have been an error. Warning is not good if it's not actually doing anything. Okay. Everything's back. Great. So unbound sender takes me there. Transaction chunk. I can't actually go to its definition. Transaction ID, fine. This is still called database transaction, which is incorrect. Transaction chunk. Transaction chunk. Why does it still think it's database transaction? Data proto generated data stream. No. This is datastream.proto. It does not have database transaction in it. See, this one, transaction chunk. This one here. Wait, where'd it go? Oh, now it's okay. Okay. All right. It's like the LSP finally caught up, or Helix had a buffer that I didn't close. I don't know which it was. Let's close some of these buffers. There we go. Commit record is done. Transaction. So we want to send that. Helix does send. What is that transaction chunk? I want to keep that afterwards. Have a like a is finished or something. Actually need two things out of it. Transaction ID. Let we send the transaction. Well, it's not commit record. We keep sending. We just do this again. Why don't we just put this in there? Transaction ID is none. Transaction ID and commit record gets set, and then we pass transaction ID in. Okay. Oh, this is coming out so much nicer. This is good. Okay. Now, if we're unable to send a transaction, what do we do with bail? I don't know, a transaction ID. What else could we give it? What's the error here? Send. This would have resulted in a send error. Tokyo sync MPSC send error. Hmm. Wired for a wall log transaction snafu to error. What? Oh, this here, it's an optional transaction ID. There we go. Okay, I like this. Comes through, we send that in. Now we're constructing a transaction. So in this case, we will probably read a frame. Okay. Do I need to check the transaction ID? I also need to update the checksums. Also get the DB checksum pieces ready. It would not be possible to fail this. And if it is, it'll scream loudly. That's fine. So we have our checksum DB. We have our frame. Now, what is on a frame? Oh, we are borrowed mutably twice. We could do this piece all at the end after we get everything out of the frames. Then we could update all of the checksum DBs and then return the value. Let's try that. So we need n number of frames that all have the same transaction ID. We know that the salts should be the same. And we only want to read until we get to max page or transaction. The commit page is set. So we could just do this once. I don't want to reallocate the memory twice. It should be okay. think what's more likely to happen is that the salts wouldn't match, but these are rare things I think that we're checking for. Okay, type annotations needed still. Yeah, that's fine. Um, it needs to be mutable. So if it's commit record, we store that. And we break if it's commit record. Okay, so here we have all of our frames. Great. Now here, we now update our checksumdb. Now that we know we've got n number of frames, we'll loop over checksumdb and update that. Kind of need the transactions to come out of this too. Rather, the transaction. Also change that. So if transaction is not something, let's set it. Now we know we always have a transaction ID by the time we reach this point here. That's funny. It expects an option. Of course, of course. Okay, transaction ID is set. Pages we need to work on. Commit record. It would be the last one if it does exist. Let me grab some more tea. Oh, gotta boil some water. So, I don't know, give me 5 or so minutes. We'll be back. wonder if we could map the pages there. Maybe. Although returning errors from that is a little clunky. Okay. That's the plan. Do that in there. Let's get the commit record checked up. Use this. So that's the value. Checksums, page count. So we can get the current page checksum. We can set a page checksum. And resize. No, we don't need to resize. Where does that get called from? Lots of tests. Why would that only get called from tests? That seems like some sort of oversight. It's right here. Self.checksums.resize. Okay. Looking at something else. Checksums. Rolling checksum. I wonder, does the DB's object have something interesting? Kind of course level things. All right. I think we have a checksum function. Where is that? Nowhere. That doesn't seem right. It's right there. Whatever. Going back to where we were. I want to get the current checksum. All right. Now, this being 0 based instead of 1 based, I want frame dot header dot page number -1. We don't need this. We actually need the checksum of the DB itself before we update it. So not that. Comment that out. What? I think it's this. Yes, this is rolling checksum of the database. Okay. Then we update the page checksum. Set page checksum. Page and the checksum of the page. And this is me check some, frame dot data. There we go. What does this return? Oh, you can convert usize to a U32. Now, was this zero sized? Zero based, yes. Okay. And returns it. What does that mean? Does it return the value that was provided? Page checksum. What? Why does it return it? Okay. Whatever. That's a weird pattern. There we go. Now we have our before and after. And we can create a page with that. Goodness. Ah, page number is frame dot checksum. This is of the data itself. Excuse me. All right. So this is of the page. Okay. Data. Get to that. Start DB checksum. Let's just now the data. Expected bytes found. Oh, cannot borrow it as mutable. Pages does not yet need to be mutable. And that's that. Right on time, too. Okay. I have to run. Thank you for hanging out. Happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Might see you this weekend. We'll see. All right, we're going to raid Tim today. Go Tim Budo. Bude. All right. Y'all take care. See you, Xenochrome. Bye bye.